Joining us now is Collette Jones, and we're going to be talking about anxiety. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm well. Thank you for having me.
So I had shared with you personally that about 6 times in my life, I could definitely see that I had panic attacks, the real blown crazy panic attacks with the sweating and the crying and the ridiculousness, right? Where you just, for me, what happens is I get dizzy and then like everything just kind of, almost like a blackout. Like you would think I was drunk, but I wasn't.
Right.
Okay. What happens when fear and shame, guilt, anxiety bubbles up to that point?
Well, you're right. It all builds up. And then a lot of times when people know that they have panic, they get scared of having panic attacks. So then you have a panic attack because you're scared that you're going to have a panic attack. And the biggest thing that I like to teach people is there's some behavioral ways to be able to deal with the anxiety and different techniques you can use to try to calm your body, because that's what's happening. It's a response in your body and all of your hormones are raging. And so once the train has left the station, you can't stop it. You have to learn how to respond to it. So a lot of people want their anxiety to go away, and it's just learning how to respond to it in a different way so it doesn't keep building and building.
Okay. So you treat the symptom that you're going through as opposed to also treating like what might be causing it?
Yeah,
So as a
so-
therapist, like what do you, like which comes first, the chicken or the egg?
So I tell people to it can go either 2 ways.
Okay.
So you could treat it your body, right? So your heart's racing, deep breathing, certain things like that. There's other techniques as well. Or cognitively, there's different ways you can learn to talk to yourself when you're experiencing a panic attack. So letting yourself know that you're okay, you're not unsafe. Anxiety comes up a lot when you feel like you're unsafe, but a lot of times you're not unsafe, it's that you're uncomfortable. And that's 2 different things. So we need anxiety because when we actually are in a dangerous situation, that saves us and it helps us. But a lot of times now, yes, run. So you're in a social situation that's uncomfortable, I have to run.
Right.
But you're really not unsafe, you're uncomfortable. So it's
Okay.
learning how to talk to yourself in a different way and learning the both sides of it and having the tools and using whichever works best in the particular situation.
Collette, what made you decide to go into this line of work?
So I had originally started in nursing because I knew I wanted to be in a helping profession. And when I thought about having to do the clinical rotations, because I hadn't started that yet, I had thought the feeling I had was, ugh, those things I have to do. And I was like, I don't think that's how I'm supposed to feel about the thing I'm choosing to do for the rest of my life. So when I went in to change my major to undecided, the random advisor that was assigned to me to help me change my schedule made an offhanded comment about, a lot of people who switch out of nursing switch into social work. And I had no idea what that was.
Oh, wow.
And I really didn't have any experience with a social worker, didn't know much about it. And as I read more into it and looked into a lot of what the field placements and internships looked like, that was something that looked exciting to me. And I was like, oh, I think that's what I was meant to do anyway. So I kind of fell into it.
What do you love best? What have you seen, without naming names, have you seen some like patient advancement?
Yeah. There was a client I used to work with who had really bad OCD and anxiety, and the first time I met her, she couldn't even get through our intake, our hour-long intake, without having to leave the room and take a walk, I think 2 or 3 times. And there was a lot of anxiety, mostly around hypochondria. And we had done really good work and she had moved on. And then maybe 3 or 4 years later, she came back just to she needed new skills and she was in college. And she told me that during the pandemic, she was working full-time in a restaurant. And I was like, oh my gosh, she had hypochondria. And during the pandemic, when everyone was getting sick and everyone was worried about, being hurt,
She made it through.
she worked and
Wow.
she did it.
Collette, that's
Yeah.
great. So obviously you have some tools that help people.
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us. I know you have some openings and availability in the new year.
Yes.
And are you licensed just in the state of New York?
Yes, so my practice is fully virtual.
Okay.
I live personally on Long Island, but I can work with anybody in New York. So I do have some spots opening up end of the year and into the new year as well. And you can reach me through my website. You can send me a consultation request to reach out to me if you have any questions.
Beautiful. For me, I think one of my coping mechanisms might just be to stop, drop, and roll. And then people would be like laughing at me, being like, what is she doing? There's no fire. But there is a fire in my heart sometimes and my brain.
It feels
So-
like you're unsafe. It feels dangerous. It feels
It
medical.
does.
It feels very medical,
yeah.
like something is wrong.
Yeah, and people look at me and they're like, what is up with Drake, you know? It hasn't happened all that often, but if I know that I can suffer through them, I know that other people do as well. So I really, truly thank you, especially around the holidays, for being here, Collette, because you don't know what the triggers are, but once that trigger happens, you know, got to stop that train. So thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you
Really
for having
appreciate
me.
you. There you go. I just completely was honest. I have had panic attacks in my life, at least 6 of them. So I hope that you're healthy, safe, and very happy. And if you need to speak to a therapist, please do. Be well.